We just getting started, baby. Did anybody see what Mr. Wardell Steph Curry did to the Portland Trailblazers? They were nobodies. They beat the Giants. Trash. They beat the Broncos. Trash. If you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, my man's was Super Saiyan. I couldn't wear this until we actually caught a dub. And he did all of this damage in 36 minutes. Let that sink in. They beat the Eagles, trash. The Cowboys, trash. The Bengals, trash. The Jaguars, trash. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on Rob's 2 Cents. My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome y'all back to the show that's hot with your boy, Rob Scott. This is Rob's 2 Cents. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody enjoying the weekend. This is kind of like a live show because I'm recording the day that I'm going to actually drop the video. I normally record Friday nights, but man, I got home from work. I was just beat. It's been a long week, both physically and mentally, to say the least. So I just needed a day where I could just come home, chill out, relax. Still wrote my show out, though, because I'm going to make sure I bring you guys that hot material and to keep the sports conversation going. I actually posed a little interesting question and gave my top 10 in NBA of all time on social media, which in future episodes we'll have some great conversations about that. I actually want to have people on the show when we talk about top 10s and when we actually have some sports debates. So, hope you guys enjoying the weekend, man. I hope you guys getting recharged, getting refreshed, getting rejuvenated, ready to hit the week next week. Hit it hard, get some things accomplished. Man, we've been seeing some good things since the second half start. But I got one team that I'm questioning right now because as we jump right into the hottest sports conversation in the nation, I got a team I'm questioning right now in the NBA. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Clippers, okay? Because they've been inconsistent. They have some inconsistent play throughout the season. In particular, these last 10 games and last 5 games, the Los Angeles Clippers have been very inconsistent this NBA season. This is a continuation of last season in which the Clippers were they were the favorites to win it all. You know, when Paul George and Kawhi Leonard formed this super duo. Out in Los Angeles, or as Skip Bayless will call them, the team in the basement in the Staples Center. Everybody figured that the Clippers were going to win. I mean, they had commercials. Kawhi was the new king of L.A. Everybody was just, Paul George back home, So everything was centered on the Los Angeles Clippers, and people thought they were going to be a defensive juggernaut. But that hasn't been the case. Because as we know, last year, they were one of the ill-fated teams that blew a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets, met their demise in the second round of the NBA playoffs last year, and were eliminated. But it appears that those bubble troubles have followed Denver into this season. Has been a continuation into this season. Now, mind you, the Clippers are currently in 4th place in the West, so we're not going to act like they're not playing great basketball. They're 4th place in a very tough Western Conference, but they're 4-6 in their last 10 games, 2-3 in their last 5 games, and it just seems like they're unable to catch a rhythm. They win a game, they might go on a 2-3 game winning streak, then they'll go on a 2-3 game losing streak. I mean, the Clippers are very inconsistent in their play. Now I understand, Paul George, he still dealing with that shoulder injury. He had soldier surgery, so and Kawhi Leonard, his lower half of his body, the calves, the hamstrings, the ankles, the foot. I understand that they've been in and out of the lineup, but the Clippers were built on defense. When this team was put together, the first year I should talk about, everybody thought with Pat Beverly, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, this team was going to be a defensive juggernaut. I mean, let's look at Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a 4-time defensive player of the year. Okay? I'm sorry. He is a 2-time defensive player of the year, and Paul George is a 4-time NBA All Defense team. Let me get my numbers right. So you have a player in Kawhi Leonard, 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Why is it that they can't even make it to the Western Conference Finals? Now, granted, this is only their second year that they've played together, but still, the Clippers have been very, they have underachieved. Okay, to say the least. Now, this team was supposed to, like I said, supposed to be the most dangerous defensive team assembled. However, that has not been the case. And then they even add a guy like Big Serge Ibaka, as we know what he's done in the past with those Thunder teams. We know what he did in the past with that Toronto team. You know, one of the reasons that Toronto was able to win their first ever franchise NBA championship, about a championship to that franchise. So we know what Ibaka has done. And you wouldn't expect them to struggle defensively. You know, now they're sixth place, you know, as far as opponents' points per game, which is not bad, but you can tell in the inconsistency that they allow teams to score. And then, you know, if we look on paper, if we look just stats only, they only allow teams to score 109 points per game. So I'm assuming as an opposing team, our goal is to get past 109 points with the Clippers. Get past 109 points, we bound to win this game. Now they're 9-10 against teams over 500 or above. So they are not beating the great teams in the league. Let's just look at their last 5 games. They won against Memphis 119-99, a team that is in 9th place in the Western Conference. However, those inconsistencies will rear their ugly head because the Clippers would then go on a 3-game loser streak, as I just mentioned earlier in the show. Now, they lose to the Milwaukee Bucks 100-105. They lose to Boston 112-117, and then they lose to the Washington Wizards in a very close game, 119-117. Then they end up beating the Golden State Warriors. You know, I'm not going to make any excuses for the Warriors. You have to play with whoever's, you know, suiting up. But the Warriors are depleted. Steph Curry is by himself. All teams are doing is zeroing in on Steph Curry. And because Oubre is an inconsistent scorer, Andrew Wiggins is an inconsistent scorer, Draymond is not a scorer. He's a facilitator. He's a defender. And you know, Wiseman, he's been in and out of the lineup. Kevon Looney is not going to be a person that just jumps at you on the score table. So what teams are doing is able to zero in on Steph Curry, and as long as you stop him from going berserk, you can stop the Golden State Warriors. So I'm not going to take my hat out to the Clippers for just telling everybody on the team to keep your eyes on Steph Curry, because they did lose to the Warriors early in the season. But they beat the Warriors in a blowout win, 130-104. And the problem is with the Clippers is, yes, they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. I mean, but you're not going to play teams like the Memphis Grizzlies or the Golden State Warriors in the NBA playoffs. It's not going to happen. You're going to be playing the likes of the Lakers. You're going to be playing the likes of Denver. You're going to be playing the likes of Portland. You're going to be playing the likes of Utah, who's the best team in the league right now. You're going to be playing the likes of Phoenix, who's the second best team in the league right now. And all of those teams I just named can put points on the scoreboard. And unless the Clippers are able to, you know, solve their problem at the point guard position, because that's been one of their key issues, even going as far back as last year. Because Patrick Beverley, he is a tenacious defender, but he's not the defender he once was. And if he's not playing defense like you need him to play, he becomes a liability out there on that court. He cannot score. I mean, he can get you a bucket, but he is not a scorer. Lou Williams is a professional scorer, but then you lose a lot defensively because Lou Williams is not a defender. He is a professional scorer. And now they're trying to put Nicholas Batum, you know, run that point forward position. But how long do you think you can sustain with Nicholas Batum being your primary ball handler? I don't think that can happen. So if they are not able to get somebody that can be a floor general, that can get players in their place, because as great as Kawhi is not going to be a player that makes everybody else better. Kawhi is what you call a go-to. If right now the team can't seem to score or get in the rhythm, you get a ball to Kawhi Leonard, you get the hell out of his way, and you let him go to work. But Kawhi Leonard is not like a LeBron James. He is not like a James Harden. He is not going to be a person that's going to get people into their sets. And Paul George, as great of a player he is a complimentary star. So if Kawhi is not able to catch a rhythm, then neither will Paul George. And Paul George definitely has a lot of stepping up to do this year in this year's playoffs because he was just a complete dud last year. He didn't get Kawhi any help. And I love PG-13, but PG-13 need to turn to playoff P and not pandemic P. Now, if the Clippers don't reshape their team, at least in the point guard department, they're going to have the same fate that they had last year, which was an elimination in the NBA playoffs. Hopefully, the Clippers are able to get it together and make some big moves before the trade deadline, which I believe is March 25th. So hopefully they can get back to their winning ways and stop their troubles. But I'm gonna talk about a team that ain't having no trouble right now. I'm gonna talk about a team right now that's rocking and rolling because Brooklyn is on a 3-game winning streak after defeating the Boston Celtics in a great matchup, 121 to 109. The game was pretty close throughout the 3 quarters, but then in the fourth, Kyrie went bananas. He scored 40 points in a game, shooting 15 to 23 from the field, including 5 of 8 from the 3-point line, also going 5 of 5 from the free throw line. Also chipped in with 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, even 1 block. Kyrie has been on the tear this year, averaging 27.7 points a game, and is helping a very scary Brooklyn Nets team continue to be the premier team in the East. Kyrie Irving. That boy cold. Now we know what Kyrie is capable of. I know people always kill me, say he won LeBron the ring. That is not the case with Kyrie, okay? He didn't win LeBron a ring. They helped each other win a ring. But Kyrie was very essential to the Cleveland Cavaliers in that championship run. We know what he did with Steph. There's just no answer for him. And even the Celtics in this past game, they welcomed back Marcus Smart, who's known to be a very tough guy, a tenacious defender, a irritant, a gnat always there, just swiping at the ball, biting you up. He had no answer for Kyrie. Now, granted, this was his game back from injury, so you might need to let him catch a rhythm before you expect all that from Marcus Smart, who I feel like is a very good player. But nobody on the Boston Celtics and nobody in the league as of lately has had an answer for Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is playing at a different level right now. And you have to imagine that KD has missed 18 games this season. Kyrie himself has missed 14 games this season. They didn't have James Harden in the first part of the season as they were trying to set everything up to get him out of Houston and over to the Nets. Now you got to think about it that KD is eventually going to get healthy, even though when it comes to his hamstring, I am getting a little concerned because he's been out for a long time, considering that it was just a hamstring. Now, I know hamstrings can be difficult to gauge, as far as putting a timetable on when somebody can heal, because you never know if there's a little slight tear. You don't know. But you wouldn't imagine that KD will be out this long with a hamstring. I'm just glad that they're reporting that it's on the opposite leg from where he tore his Achilles at, which means that he could have just hurt the hamstring from overcompensating on one side of his body while he was, rehabbing from the torn Achilles. So he could be feeling residual effects from that. But once you get a KD back, now you add a Blake Griffin, there are rumors going around. Could Andre Drummond be coming? Could Hassan Whiteside be coming, which would bring you more height, more depth? That way you don't have to put that much on DeAndre Jordan. You have to imagine that Brooklyn right now has to be the favorite to win it all in the NBA. But let's move over to the football side of things, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers they've been making some moves before this trade deadline, before free agency opens up, I should say, begins on March 17th. They've been making some very big moves to bring back most of their roster. If we look at what the Bucs have done, they put the franchise tag on Chris Godwin. Now, I know a lot of people have probably heard franchise tag. You're like, what is a franchise tag? What does that mean? So a franchise tag pretty much means that even though a player is an unrestricted free agent, that player is still technically under contract. So that means that while this player is under contract, a team is either going to have to match. A team is either another team can approach that player to play for them, but it allows the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to match that offer, which will keep him under that contract. Okay, as we know, Chris has 7 touchdowns last year, and he definitely was a key piece on that receiving for that receiving core for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then the Bucs will make even more noise on the defensive side of the ball, re-signing their inside linebacker, Levante David. And we know he was a stud. He got signed to a 2-year, $25 million deal. Technically, it's a 5-year deal, but it comes with 3 voidable years. Now, a voidable year means that it allows teams to give you a signing bonus, and it allows them to give you a minimum contract. And what they do is they divvy those up through those voidable years, so that way that they're not against the salary cap. So, for example, they probably gave Levante David, let's say, a $20 million signing bonus, and then gave him a 2-year deal worth $25 million. Now, that signing bonus can be divvied up throughout the year, throughout those 5 years that he's there. Technically, he's only going to be playing 2 years because the last 3 years are voidable. But that way, he still gets his money, and the team is able to still go bring in higher ranked players, higher value players to their roster to build a dynasty. And that's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doing, because you'll see later on when I talk about it, they did the same thing with Tom Brady. So we know that Levante David, man, he was a stud. Last season, he had 117 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, 1.5 sacks, 1 interceptions, 6 defended passes, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. Not to mention he had 26 more tackles and 1 more sack during the Bucs championship run. The Bucs would then shake the room, as you will, like my boy Pop Smoke said. They'll shake the room by giving Tom Brady a 4-year extension with 3 voidable years for about $15 million for 2 seasons, and then a $10 million signing bonus. So even though Tom Brady he took a minimum contract, that $10 million signing bonus is going to be divvied up throughout those voidable years, and that way he's still going to get paid. And as we know, Tom Brady he has always been a player that will take less money to bring people in. He's smart. He knows that legacy matters. If I'm playing in the game of professional sports, I'll make my money back through endorsements. I'll make my money back through commercials. I'll make my money back in shoe deals. But you know what? I'm not going to break the bank on this team, because as great of a quarterback as I am, if I have no receivers to throw it to, that means nothing. And Tom Brady is smart when it comes to that. Not to mention, finding out, listening to Undisputed, Florida is one of those states that don't have a state income tax. So a lot of players that are taking less money, they're going to make it back in the long run anyway, because when they have to file their taxes, they don't have to worry about paying the state and paying federal. They're just paying federal. So, with them signing Tom Brady is likely to be playing till he's 45. He's going to be 44 this year. And Tom Brady has stated that he wanted to play till he was at least 45 or possibly past the age of 45. So right now the Bucs are wrapping up some key pieces that I believe they still have about $19 million in cap space. As we know, the cap this year was $182.5 million in comparison to the $198.2 million it was last year. So that's a $15.7 million difference, okay? So right now, They're going to be going after Shaq Barrett. You definitely want to bring out your outside linebacker out back to the fold. He was a stud last year and pretty much was the anchor of that defense last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he's still a free agent as right now. Tight end Rob Gronkowski, defensive end tackle Ndamukong Suh, your kicker Ryan Suckup, and that boy that ran all over the postseason last year, Leonard Fournette. So you're going to imagine that the Buccaneers are going to be trying to be bringing all these guys back to have one more shot at it. Tom Brady say, run it back. Got a couple quick hitters before we get up out of here. A lot of people been asking who's the rookie of the year been so far. And let's just be real, y'all. There's no competition in that discussion. LaMelo Ball is running away with this Rookie of the Year. Now, I know a lot of people have been watching Anthony Edwards as of late. We saw that dunk, that amazing dunk that he did against the Toronto Raptors. Anthony Edwards is a stud, don't get me wrong. But if we look at Minnesota right now, they're in last place. I believe that record is like, what, 18 of 28, 8 of 29, 8 of 26 or something like that. They're last place in the Western Conference, even under Houston, who's been going through their troubles, under Sacramento, who's been trending downward. So I know that Big Cat Carl Anthony Towns, he's been in and out of the lineup, dealing with the loss of his family with all that COVID situation, dealing with his injuries and everything. But LaMelo has just been a stud for the Charlotte Hornets. And we look at LaMelo right now, he leads all rookies in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Anthony Edwards only really appears high on that list when it comes to points, as he's second in scoring. But you want to talk about what Melo has, the eyeball test, as people like to call it. Look at the impact that he's had on the Charlotte Hornets. He's now a starter for this team. He continues to be a great floor general, getting people into their places. LaMelo Ball is very gifted with the ball. He knows where players are supposed to be. He has a great eye, a great vision on the court. He has great smarts. He just gets the game of basketball. And I kept telling people that. If we look at what LaMelo Ball has done, and look at where he's came from, LaMelo Ball played overseas now. He played with grown men. He didn't play he left high school his senior year, went directly overseas. So unlike college students who playing against other college students, LaMelo Ball was playing against grown men, 30-year-old men, 40-year-old men, having to get a man body and man strength very quickly, as opposed to an Anthony Edwards, as opposed to a James Wiseman. So LaMelo kind of had the one up on his fellow rookies, man. And right now, don't look, the Hornets are in sixth place in the Eastern Conference at 18-18, meaning if the season ended today, he wouldn't have to play in the play-in tournament. He'll just be going straight to the playoffs because he's in that 6 or higher bracket. Right now, if the things continue to go the way that they've been going, LaMelo Ball will be your NBA 2021 Rookie of the Year. And then if we switch back to football, the Bears have franchise tagged Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson only had 6 touchdowns last year, but he had 102 receptions for 1,250 yards. I feel like he's a key piece to that receiving core, probably one of the better receivers that we have on the Chicago Bears. I really hope that they're able to revamp their team. Been rumors that Russell Wilson possibly will sign with us. I know I was talking to one of my friends. He informed me that Russell Wilson had actually made a trip out here to Chicago. So were he talking to Bears front office staff? What were they discussing? Will he really be interested in coming to the Chicago Bears? Right now, it looks like he's going to be starting the season back with Seattle. So we will have to monitor this, especially, like I said, after March 7th. I'm sorry, not March 7th, March 14th. It will be NFL free agency. So we're going to be definitely keeping our eyes on what's going on with the Bears and possible signing of Russell Wilson. Also in football, Cam Newton will be back with the Patriots for another crack at it, resigning with the Patriots for a 1-year deal worth around about $14 million, with $6 million of that tied to incentives. So, if he gets X amount of passing yards, X amount of rushing yards, if they make the playoffs, if he makes a Pro Bowl, if he's a player of the week, those type of incentives. So Cam Newton, we know he didn't pass the ball very well, throwing for only 8 touchdowns last year, throwing 10 interceptions. But to his credit, he had a mediocre receiving core. I mean, Julian Edelman was injured. Jacoby Myers, was in and out of the lineup. So he didn't really have any receivers to throw it to. They had new tight ends there. They weren't very good last year. So a lot of times Cam Newton had to try to do it on his own, which you can tell he had 12 rushes. He had 12 rushes while rushing for 592 yards. So throughout that season, Cam was always on the move. But hopefully, with him not getting a high contract, Bill Belichick and the Patriots are able to help him out by bringing in some receivers, and then we can see what Cam Newton can really do. 2 players have decided to part ways with their teams in the NBA. P.J. Tucker will be joining the free agency by parting ways with the Rockets, and LaMarcus Aldridge, of course, will be parting ways from the San Antonio Spurs. It's been rumors now that LaMarcus Aldridge could possibly be going back to Portland. Brooklyn could possibly be looking at LaMarcus Aldridge, which is like, wow, Brooklyn, how much more help do you guys need over there? So we'll be watching the development of these players. Like as I mentioned, the trade deadline ends March 25th. So we will definitely be keeping our eyes in the NBA to see who's going where. Myers Leonard in the NBA has been fined for using a racial slur during a live stream while having a video gaming session. It was a racial word that is used towards people of Jewish descent. So it was a word that I hadn't even heard of. When I heard the word, I literally Googled it to see what it meant. And that's the thing, people have to learn to stop saying words and you don't know the meaning, because what might be a nothing word to you might mean something to somebody else. And as we see, there can be consequences and repercussions for your actions. Myers Leonard was fined $50,000 and suspended from team activities for a week, because right now he's currently out for the season anyway, as he rehabs from season-ending shoulder surgery. That's a tongue twister, y'all. I wanted to make sure I get that right. So he is currently out the season for the rest of the season as he rehabs from season-ending shoulder surgery. So hey, that's just a lesson to be learned. Watch the things that you say, because you never know how that can impact somebody else. And last thing, this was a funny story. Last point of order before we call it one. Patrick Ewing was asked for credentials while entering Madison Square Garden, as he was there to coach his alma mater in the Big East tournament. He went to Georgetown. He now coaches Georgetown. And Ewing said in the press conference, "Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am. Am I getting stopped?" Like, I'm like, what the hell? Is this Madison Square Garden? Is this? I'm gonna have to call. I'm gonna have to call the execs. And shit. Is my number not in the rafters? Pat Ewing played 15 years for the New York Knicks, and no, he didn't win a championship, but Patrick Ewing made some noise for the Knicks. He led them to 2 NBA Finals, and leads the franchise of points, rebounds, minutes, steals, and blocks. He's also 11-time NBA All-Star. So he was the reason that the Knicks were able to stay relevant at a time where the New York Knickerbockers were just second thought. So I can understand his frustration. It's just really a shame. I understand. A lot of people joking, well, he didn't win a ring. That don't mean nothing. Hey, he put in work for this franchise for 15 years and dominated. Hey, maybe the franchise didn't do everything that they needed to do to get him some help, but hey, hopefully Patrick Ewing is able to, reconcile with with Nolan, with Dolan or Nolan, whatever his name is in New York. He's an ignorant guy, so I tend to not even keep my my thoughts on that guy. But James Dolan, I think that's his name. The owner of the team. Hopefully, they're able to reconcile and he's able to give his staff a history lesson on just who the hell Patrick Ewing is. And and they able to move on for this, but it was just funny. Patrick Ewing's reaction was just funny. Is my number not in this Raptors? Look up there. How many 7-foot dudes walking around saying I'm the coach of Georgetown? But I digress, y'all. Man, it's been a great show, y'all. Man, I appreciate you guys for showing back up. We're gonna have a lot to talk about this upcoming Monday. Sorry about that. That was a car going by. But yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about this upcoming Monday as we're going to discuss the games that happen this weekend. Hopefully we get a chance to see Blake Griffin make his debut for the Brooklyn Nets. Definitely excited about that. LeBron seems to be doing this thing. I'm waiting to hear the reevaluation for certain players like Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, to see if we get any timetables on when these great players will return. And we're going to continue to bring the heat. We're going to continue to bring you the hottest sports conversation in the nation. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great weekend, man, and relax, enjoy, be merry, enjoy this great weather while we have it, because next week, the Father Winter is supposed to return. So you guys, man, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to this video. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms. There's Rob's 2 Cents on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Well, not Twitter, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Your boy is on TikTok. Also, make sure you tune in to Spotify and iTunes. If you don't want to see the video, you can definitely listen to the audio on Spotify, iTunes. We've had a great show today. Hope you guys have a great one. Remember the slogan: be great, and we gone. There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us, but we have to look past the illusions, look past the delusions of grandeur, and look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we got